First of all, thank you so much, Rawat, and then your Mr. Rawat and your organization to organize this great event. I think, like it's such a pleasure to be here to connect with all the great educators around the globe and hear what you guys do, and then learn from you, your achievement, and get inspired. So my name is Jane G. I'm the co-founder and the president of Springbay Studio. I come from we're Canadian-based educational game development company that we focus on environmental education using games. So my today's topic will about play, and I'm going to talk about why play is so important in terms of the environmental education. So I'm going to go through some slides, and then also want to share with you about our new game that is launched today. So and then I will also come back to the slide to talk a little bit about how our games are aligned with the science curriculum used in the States, and for those international schools, I'd love the opportunity to explore further how our game can be aligned with the curriculums that you guys are using. So excuse me for this back and forth. Without further ado, I'd like to talk a little bit about who we are. So Springbay Studio is a award-winning educational game developer that located in Toronto, Canada. And in the past few years, we have developed educational games about oceans and wetlands, and got many awards from the prestigious organizations such as the American Association of School Librarians. And also our game has been recognized by the United Nations Environment Program. So so what we want to do is really to encourage behavior, a sustainable behavior. That's all started with building ecosystems. That's why in our first game, About Wetland, the students can build virtual habitats from scratch. And then using this virtual simulation as a learning tool to validate their understanding of how species are all connected, like previous presenters mentioned, we all recognize how important it is this. And then further, based on the success for the wetland game, we continue to create our second game, iBiome Ocean, based on top of everything that its predecessor has. We also added like the stories to talk about the human impact. So like, for example, every kids in the modern world, they enjoy like cars and plastics and all those kind of conveniences. But what is the environmental impact for the convenience that we enjoy every day? So first time we use stories to encourage kids to explore what's behind, what's the cost associated with our comfort. So like our game actually has been used by many schools and the kids, and they loved it and they asked more. So we developed a new game which is more focusing on climate actions. Not only you are going to be engaged and you are informed, but more is we want you to be part of us to take actions on climate change at the level where the kids can do. So by the way, all the games are designed for age 8 to 14. So from now on, I'm going to switch my presentation to the new game that we developed. So don't worry if you cannot hear the background music and also the voiceovers, but you can. In fact, in my slide later on, you will find the access information so that you can try those games on your own. So this is the new game, and then like this one, we really consider the feedback from the teachers. So we added the feature that allows you to jump into each session of the game. So you can, from this game, you can see a lot of about, like the 4 ecosystem that we included in this game, from the Antarctic to tundra to Arctic to boreal forest. So I'm going to give you a quick kind of like experience demo about, how you can use it to teach environmental science. So for example, you can the game is organized by game missions. So the game missions will allow you to jump into the part of the game directly. That's going to save you time when you're teaching online. So imagine this as a kind of like a book. Those are the bookmarks. So we will give you we can support you with the materials, how you can use those kind of bookmarks. So let's take a look of this Arctic 7. Arctic 7 is we're going to learn something about the Arctic. And so this is the introduction to teach the kids what they're expect to learn in this game. You probably cannot hear the voiceover, but this game has been localized in 3 languages. I mean, in 2 languages. We covered English, French, and the Chinese, but later on we will localize it into more, languages, especially if you're interested to localize this game into the language that you speak. I'd love to connect with you and get some help from there. Anyhow, so here is like kids learn about, the polar regions and why they're important to us, to all of us on Earth. And what is the consequence? What are the climate change that they are threaten those delicate ecosystem right now? And what will be the consequences when those ice are gone? So really is a kind of like introduction about the learning experience they're going to start to have. And then also we call them to take actions together, because there are billions of us on home planet. If every one of us is doing something, I think we will alter our path to our future. So really is the focus for this game is we focus about 3 things. So we focus about our food choices, about our communication choice, and commute choice, and then recycling, because those are the 3 things that the little kids as young as 8 can do and can help. So that's really was the essence of the game. You can explore this a little bit later. I will just jump right in. So you can see this game actually. You can see our home planet, a virtual representation of our home planet. And then later on, you will be able to see how, like we can interact with this to make the learning part fun. So all missions are started with a few tasks. Like right now, all those tasks are created around a topic, like a connected world that we're learning right now. So the first, we're going to learn about some animals that living in the Antarctic. So we're going to learn to study something about penguins. And then like there are all the voiceovers, so the kids, even they have some difficulty with reading, they will be able to enjoy the game. So the whole point for here is that you have 4 different species and you have 3 spots. You have consumers and you have prey. So we're presenting a puzzle to your students to say, who is playing what ecological role. And what they do is they can drag it over here if they're not certain. By given this scenario, actually those 2 are playing the consumer role, and then the other one was playing the prey role. And once they figure this out, they will be able to pass this levels. So that's really is the one of the game mechanisms there. And then also they can hear about all the interesting facts, learn about the different amazing ways that those animals adapt to their ecosystems. And then also to take a close look how they look like really, in real life. So there's a lot of educational values in here. They can also play around with the crazy web so that this kind of abstract scientific concept becomes something playable. And not only this, like now we learn about one thing, we also talk about the earth science. For example, we're going to talk about how the feedback loop, will help track the heat, generated from the sunlight because of the greenhouse gas that we generated from the fossil fuel uses. And you can see they're represented by the CO2 in this arc. And your goal is trying to let those heat generated and let them out. And so this way you can prevent the glaciers from melting. So here really we're talking about, you know, like the feedback loop. The more, you know, those kind of ice snow area we have, the more the sunlight will be reflected out of the atmosphere, also bring the energy away with them. But if we fail to do that, like this red ball, you will melt more ice and generating more, you know, kind of like the heat, trap more heat in the atmosphere. So like this is a kind of like already advanced level. Don't worry when you feel kind of overwhelmed. We do have tutorial levels to help you student get up the speed and then explain, you know, what they learned from playing this. And so this is, you know, just some examples. And other things what we use in the game is about the stories. We talk about the climate change. What is climate change? Climate change is creating global warming. Is one of the unfortunate consequences of the climate change is increase the Earth's average temperature. And so using the stories and using the language that they understand, the kids will have a kind of like understanding of what's going on in the world right now. And not only that, they will be able to interact with the home planet, our visual presentation of our entire home planet on their fingertips. So like what's the bounds, what bounds away of the sunlight. Okay, so we saw that kind of in the game. So we reinforce this concept. The sun's like, you know, provide energy we need to survive, and the ice and snow will bounce in the north and south pole will work like big mirrors to reflect the sunlight away. So we ask them to click, and they can see how sunlight actually are bounced off. Not only that, sorry to move this around, and then what does the CO2 in our atmosphere, what do they do? So certainly, you know, there's a lot of the things the kids can learn over here. I probably is better put it in here. So like we talk about the CO2s, what in our on planet Earth actually help to absorb the CO2s. They can click on the trees, to there's some kind of like a hide and seek gameplay there, so they can advance the story. They can have the CO2s presented here, and they can also move around to let the excess, you know, heat out of the atmosphere. Not only that, they will be able to what absorb the CO2. So we talk about that. And then like they move along the mission to learn more about what's the relationship about the CO2s and the animals living in their virtual habitats. And then like for example, you know, we ask them to be careful with the extra heat, which is the yellow ball here. And then they are going to learn more, you know, about how we're all connected in living on this home planet. Not only here, I think like this is one of the examples. The other example I would like to share with you is to jump into another bookmark where you will be able to see the like how does the game kind of slow down its pace in its tutorial to teach the kids about the basic science. So from here, I'm going to use the Tundra example. This is the first mission in the Tundra. We're going to talk about the what is permafrost and how does the global warming, you know, thawing the permafrost and how that impact on our home, our environment. So this is really kind of a slow down pieces for the tutorial where you can also find in the other game that I just showed you. So we're talking about here is a virtual representation of the permafrost, and you're in the middle, and what is tundra winter look like, what are those, and how do they interact? They kind of like connecting the things together, so have some kind of like a game elements to that. But not only this, we also kind of like teach them, this is the summer comes to the tundra, and then this is the active layer about the science, about the you know, the earth science, about the permafrost thawing. So they have to understand, they will the active layer will freeze again in the winter. The problem with the sawing is because we have too much energy, the heat energy, so that the active layer will not freeze in the winter. So again, explain what's the yellow ball is, represent the energy from the sunlight absorbed by the sawing layer, and then they want to let it out, because otherwise it's going to melt. You know, like if I put it here, the CO2 traps the heat from escaping and turn the yellow ball into the red one, which the red one later on will have some consequences. And the white layer here represent the permafrost layer. So you can certainly, you know, kind of like see the heat actually melting away, or the scientific term is thawing. So what is that? And they have a physical experience about that. And this part is like we are talking about, you know, building the connection that we really want to help prevent this from happening. So we are repairing the sawing part. Obviously, in reality, that's more complicated. But we also talk about the methanes, which are represented by the smogs here. The permafrost holds methanes or CH4, and it traps more heat. So they can see visually and they can experience this. And also they can see, you know, what is the active layer again after their play to reinforce the concept they learn. So really there's a lot of things to do. And talking about, you know, taking actions on the climate change, I have to jump into another bookmark, which is very quickly you will be able to see. Because we can represent the Earth using the game technology. So we can show to the students how our choices, our everyday choices on the food options, on our recycling options actually matters. Like, you know, if we're talking about the recycling things, okay? There are many billions of people living on the earth, and every person's decision on recycling contribute to the changes you just see. So what they want to do is, why don't we lead the change we want to see and tap on this. So we actually encourage the kid to set up their goals on the eco footprint. So sorry, I have to move this again because it was kind of hiding here. Like, let's do this together. So they can set up their goals. You want to recycle 7 days a week, and let's do that right now. And we will be able to track, you know, how your student recycle. Did it recycle any cans? Did it recycle any papers, plastic bottles, anything? And then we will calculate on how much the CO2. Sorry, I think there was a error on here. So we're going to simulate on how much of the CO2s actually you can save there to present it so that the students not only doing the green thing, but they can quantify on the CO2 emission that they just saved in terms of, you know, the green choices they do. So that's really something we want to achieve in this game. Again, you know, like I think I probably kind of like very close to the end of my time slot. I would encourage you to use the information on my presentation to kind of like go through, for example, if you're in IB school in other countries, how our games align with the Common Core standards, next generation science standards, and also how other educators in North America are using them, like, for example, engage the students with the aquatic ecosystems and how to have some hands-on activity, especially when you are doing with the virtual schooling. Those are very engaging activities for your student to do at home, online with you, to bring your science curriculum to life. And we also supporting teachers. So our focus is teachers, and you guys are great people there to educating our future generations. So we want to support you with the PDs, with the webinars. All those are complementary. So also I like to focus on this part. The students, those are from our surveys from the students. So you can take a look. There are reports are included over here, how they said about their experience with our game. And then in the nutshell, the game is really aimed for grade 3 to 8. And then we support iPads and also on the online as well. If you're using Chromebooks, we have lesson plans, and you can also kind of try it out on your PC with this URL, with the username and password. You should be able to play the game. If not, just shoot me an email. So we're very easy to access all those kind of 3 things. Even you don't register, you can using a kind of like a free 10 minutes free trial without even login. Another thing I just want to say before I wrap up the presentation is we understand the challenge presented by the COVID-19, and then the environmental education is all about care. So it's very, very challenging when you are not with the children, but you want to cultivate their eco-focused mindset. So we want to work with all the educators around the world. Let's have a league for a green future. Let's make the kids proud of what they're doing on the sustainability, on all their green choices. So we can use our game to get them engaged with the environmental issues, and to what the play to win means is that we can develop a lot of the activity they can do at home, some science experiment they can do at home, they can track their eco footprint at home, and then having some competitions in the end to make the green choices and to be the warrior for our future world a fun thing and a cool thing for them to do. So that is, like, if you're interested, I'd love to hear from you. So with that, I'd like to wrap up my presentation. And thanks again for the Great Mentor for this great opportunity. And thank you, Mr. Rawat.
Thank you, Jen. These games are very impressive, and because it brings nature in the gaming. And at this pandemic, these are games which a student can play at home, and along with that, they can learn environment, they can learn the carbon footprint, they can learn the biodiversity, they can learn a lot of things about environment. And this is the way we need to introduce in the schools, because there are many games which are distracting students from the studies. These games will bring a student more closer to learning, and their performance in the academics will enhance us. So thank you for this inspiring presentation. Keep it up, and I think today you've launched new games. So this is a good day. Today is the UN SDG Day. So 24 September UN SDG Day. So you have selected a good day and good time to launch your new games. So our wishes are with you. Our wishes are with you. Please share with all schools, because school needs it now, because the online classes are not making sense. But along with these games, it will make more sense.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rawat.
Yeah, thank you, Jane.